Going into my freshman year of high school, I probably learned one of the most valuable things I've learned so far. This was how to properly take a Cornell note. Cornell notes not only help you in school, but they can help you in business and everyday life. Now, today we're going to look at how to take an outline of a Cornell note, the context of a Cornell note, and how to properly use Cornell after. Now, the outline of a Cornell note is taken as so. You're going to begin with a blank sheet of paper, whether it's a spiral, a composition, or a legal pad, which is what I like to use. Now, you begin with a blank sheet and draw an I on the paper. The middle section is going to be taken off to one side, preferably closest to the middle of the book. You're going to leave about 2 inches for this column. At the beginning, or at the top, I should say, in the middle is where you're going to put the topic. I've used it in a cooking or a culinary class. You even put the name of the recipe. In one of the top corners, as you prefer, left or right, you're going to put your name. In the middle, the teacher, the name of the specific lecture, like 1301, 1302. I've even written the name of the recipe book, and in the other top hand corner, you're going to write the date. This will all help you for filing and keeping up with things chronologically. In this main section here, as you've probably guessed, this is where the meat of your notes are going to be. In this spot, you can write the details. This is mostly for notes and drawings. What I like to do myself is make bullet points, maybe little arrows, key points, or key details rather, on what I want to add in my notes. Another great advantage of a Cornell note is, of course, you have the entire book, so wasting space really isn't that big of a deal. Always leave about 1 to 2 blank lines so you can go back, jog little notes, add little things. Off to the side of the main section, this is where you can draw little charts or graphs that may help you and, of course, relate to the context. In this column off to the middle of the book, this is really where the Cornell notes are special from other notes. This is where you're going to put your main ideas, your key points, and especially where I first learned this was in a world geography class where we put important dates, important people, and things that were, as he liked to say, probably gonna show up on the test. So that's when we kind of figured out that it was going to be on the test. So this is really where you're just going to put your most important and valuable information. This is where, of course, doesn't have to be long, can be shorthanded. And always remember, these are your notes. Don't be afraid to abbreviate. Just remember, if you're going to abbreviate it, remember what it is abbreviated for. In the bottom here is also another very important section. You want to leave about at least 5 to 6 lines, about the size of a paragraph. This is where you're going to go back and write a summary of the notes you've just taken. This can be just, of course, a summary, a few short sentences, maybe redo a graph or a chart that you've done, maybe blacken a circle in and make it a point, whatever you like to do to really consolidate all the things you've learned. Another great spot to put down here, because this is also, though it's at the bottom of the page, a very important part of your Cornell note is a question. Many times at the end of a lecture or at the end of a video, whatever it is, you're going to have a question. Of course, just like at the end of the Cornell note, you want to wait until the speaker is done speaking and then ask your question. This is where, you can be 15 minutes into a 30-minute speech and I didn't hear what he said, but it was between this and between this. Draw a line, boom. You're ready at the end of his lecture to pose your question. Now, So far we have looked at the outline of a Cornell note, the context, which we just looked at, of how to take a Cornell note. Now we're going to look at how to use a Cornell note after you have taken it. This is why it is so important to know how to take Cornell notes. At the very top, you already have it, your name, the teacher's name, the topic name, and the date. You can easily file it. You took these notes 3 weeks ago and the test is today. Boom, I know where it is. It's the date. It's under this teacher. Easy filing. You know where it is. The context, you have graphs, charts, things you want to remember, minute details. Oh, right under this, you went back and jogged something. That way it can help your memory. 10% of things we hear are the things we're going to retain. That leaves another 90% of things. These notes are going to help you immensely if you learn how to take them correctly. Off to the side, main points. Many speeches, I've even heard 15-point speeches. I'm not going to remember every single one of those speeches. It's human nature. You're going to forget. But, of course, in this column, this is where you can put all the speech, or all the main ideas, key points, important places, people, or things. Dates, of course. And at the very bottom, which is probably one of your greatest study tools, is where you're going to go back. And this is really where the really meat of where you're going to study for. This is where you summarized, added last minute things, gone back, put secondary thoughts, things you just, oh, you know what, I remember this, I think I'm going to put this. Things like that. Questions. If you got to ask your question, this is where, of course, you're going to put the answer. What did Christopher Columbus do that year? Oh yeah, he sailed to America. Things like that. Now, today we have looked at how to do an outline of a Cornell note, properly take a Cornell note, and why it is so important to go back and study your Cornell note properly. Many times in life, as human nature, you're going to forget 90% of the things you hear. Cornell notes, when used properly, are going to be your best way to remember, whether it's a lecture, a business meeting, or anything in everyday life.